Good morning. Today we are looking at math packet number 7. You do. So math packet number 7. You throw 3 darts at the board shown below. If each dart hits the board, how many different possible point totals can you score? So you're going to want to look. If I throw my first dart and it hits a bullseye, that would be 10. Plus my second dart hits a bullseye, that's another 10. Plus my third dart hits a bullseye, that's another 10. So 3 darts. I hit in the bullseye each time, that equals 30 points. Now let's say I throw a dart and I hit in the bullseye. But my second dart hits in the 4, and my third dart hits in the bullseye. This time my point total is going to be 24. You're going to want to go through and see how many different point totals you can get. So if you throw and hit a bullseye, you throw and hit a 4, and then you throw and hit a 4. How many points is that? So you're going to want to look to see how many different possible point totals. You might throw your dart and hit different numbers and it ends up being the same total. You can only count that total once. So you're going to want to check to see what your totals are for each of the possible ways that you can throw the dart. So I made a whole list and I totaled them out, and then I counted how many different totals I could get. Any questions on that one? All right, so it's more than just the 2 I put there. You're going to have to make your list. If you throw and hit the 10, and then you throw and hit a 4, and then you throw and hit the 1. So you're going to want to do that.
Wyatt Miller and Keegan Miller, could you please grab your things and come to the office? Wyatt Miller and Keegan Miller.
Okay, so let's look at our next page. This time, your neighbor Henry is cleaning up his yard for the season and has already collected 7 bags. So he's already collected 7 bags. So we know we have those 7 bags just sitting out there. And then he says he still has leaves in his trees, and he's thinking about every 3 days he'll be able to collect another bag of leaves. Because that wind's going to blow and more leaves are going to fall. So we need to look at the end of 57 days, how many bags of leaves is he going to collect? So there are several different ways you could do it. One, you could just count out on your calendar all the way until you get to 57 days and count every 3rd day. We're skip counting by 3s. Every 3rd day and count up how many days he collects his leaves. What do we have to do with the 7 that he's already collected? Gigi? Yeah, don't forget about those 7 he's already collected. You need to add it to your answer. So don't forget those 7. Make sure you go all the way to 57 days. There is a shorter mathy way to do this. If you know I'm skip counting by 3s, that's multiplying by 3 to get up to 57. You can do the opposite operation. Instead of multiplying by 3, do the opposite. What are we going to do to 57? You're going to want to divide it down. So you can either do the skip counting and count it up, or you can do that math opposite operation. Our next page is that 5-card challenge. Using these 5 cards, you want to equal 9. Next page is our patterns. So it says we need to complete the table for the total blocks in each figure. So we need to do this part of our table. If I look at my first figure, there is 1 block. My second figure has 9 blocks. My third figure has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 5 is 25. My fourth figure has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times 7 is 49. I need to figure out what's my fifth figure going to have? What's my sixth figure going to have? My seventh figure. What do we notice about 1, 9, 25, and 49? Does anybody know what kind of number is my favorite number? JT? What's the pattern?
It goes up by the odd number.
What goes up by the odd number?
The total of blocks.
So the total blocks are all odd numbers.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so there is that, but how do you know what's the fifth? What's the total of the fifth?
It goes 3, 5, 9. So then it would be 11. 11 times 11.
Oh, what do we call 11 times 11?
101.
It would be a perfect square. Those are my favorite numbers, those perfect squares. And JT's looking at that saying, ooh, I see a pattern with those squares. You're multiplying the number by itself. So if we look at our 1, that's 1 times 1. We look at 9, that's 3 times 3. 25 is 5 times 5. 49 is 7 times 7. So what are we going to do for my fifth figure? 9 times 9, because like JT said, we're going up by those odd numbers, and then we're squaring them. So follow the pattern to complete your total blocks. Our next page the figure shown is a sphere. Answer the questions for your class. So it says draw a net of the figure. And I looked it up. You can't draw a net of a sphere. We can't lay it out flat. So you don't have to draw a net for this one. But we do need to know how to find the surface area of a sphere. So surface area is the SA. Surface area, you're going to need to write down this formula. So the formula is 4 times pi times the radius squared. So 4 times pi times the radius squared. What is the radius? If we look at our figure, Amelia? 9. Because the radius goes from the middle all the way to the outside. R equals 9 centimeters. So then you want to square it. What is pi? What number do we use for pi, Matthew? 3.14. So you're going to want to put in pi, and you're going to want to put in the R, and then you're going to want to do the math. 4 times 3.14 times 9 squared. So put in your numbers and do the math. Let's look at our next page. So now it says write the formula for the volume of a sphere. So the volume is different than surface area. So everybody needs to write this. The volume, V equals 4/3 times pi times R cubed. So we still have R is our 9. That radius is 9. So we're going to do 4/3 times 3.14 times 9 cubed. Nolan?
On the left page, you put R2 and R2. Or you put R2 on this one, and you put R2 on the left.
Did I put R cubed on the last one?
Put R2. No.
I put R2 because it was R squared. Because that was the surface area.
Yes.
This is the volume. They're different. So they are different formulas. Good catch on that. The last page was the surface area. I put SA. It's going to be a different formula than the volume. So our surface area, we're squaring the radius. For the volume, we're cubing it. That's the difference. Because they're different measurements. Surface area is the outside of the sphere. Volume is everything that fills in the sphere. James?
So, or like when it says math 6, the formula for the surface area of a sphere is 4 pi r
Okay,
squared.
hold on 1 second. If you do this math, you're going to put the answer right here. Then we're going to look at math 6. That's the answer that we're going to put down right here. And it gives us that formula, 4 times pi times r squared. That's what we did before. And it says, what is the surface area? What are you noticing, James?
We just did the answer.
You just used that same radius of 9, so you can put the answer from the page before, because you've already done that, because it's the same radius. So this answer for this is on the previous page. You just rewrite that answer. And so you don't have to do the math again, because you've already done the math. But if you get it wrong, you're going to have it wrong on both pages. So make sure you're doing your math correctly. Let's look at our next page. Find the area of the shaded region. All work must be shown. So you don't have to write out your multiplying it through, but you have to show me what it is, what numbers you typed into your calculator. So if you're multiplying 2 numbers together, write it. So the area of the figure, this is your figure, the whole shape. How do we find the area of a rectangle? What's my formula, Jillian?
Oh, never mind.
Matthew?
You talking about the height?
Close.
With
Length times width. So because it's a flat, it doesn't have a height. So length times width. So length times width. So the area of the figure, you're going to want to do length times width, which would be 12 times 10. That's how you found it. You multiplied your length times your width, and you're going to put that answer right here. Then it says the area of the shaded region. How do I find that? How do I find just the shaded part? So that means I don't want the white rectangle. I know my measurement for my white rectangle, and I know for the big one, I don't know the shaded because it's a goofy shape. Any guess what we have to do, Isabel?
you would like
Taya?
you have to subtract the small one from the big one.
We have to subtract the white rectangle from the large rectangle. So you're going to need to find the white figure. And you're going to subtract that from the full figure. You're left with just the shaded. So how I found the shaded, I did the figure minus the white figure. And you'll be left with just the shaded. So you have to find what that white rectangle is. Subtract it from that full rectangle, and then you're left with just the shaded. All right. Let's look at our last page. On our last page, we need to be able to read this graph. It says the salespeople divided into teams of no more than 3. One team sold 28%, another team sold 46%, and the other sold 26%. Which salespeople were on each team? So you have to figure out which percentage goes with which person. So the 20% is that light green, so it goes with Fuller, so I know he's 20%. The red is 24%, and red over here is 24%. I'm going to match up all of the percentages with the people, and I'm going to see which ones I add together to get 28, 46, and 26. So you're going to have 3 different teams. One that's 28%, one that's 46%, and one that's 26%. And you're going to tell me who's on which team because you're going to add those percentages together equally. So all people are used. No team has more than 3 people. And you're just going to write out who is on each team. Jillian.
Is Dodsworth 4% or 27%? I can't tell.
27. So that Dodsworth, that blue, because those blues are really close in color. The Dodsworth is this one right here, that blue. That's a good question. So you're going to want to put which person has how many percentages and then see which numbers you can add together to get those teams. Make sure you don't use more than 3. There's going to be 2 people on a team or 3 people on a team. Okay. So with that, I'm going to end the recording with have a wonderful day.